Hello and welcome to Focus on Fantasy Romance, episode number 33, a podcast where we discuss books, genre, industry, and our geeky lives. I'm Elle Klaus.
I'm A.R.D. Clark.
And the face of the thing is Paulina Woods.
Today we have Noelle Riches. Noelle Riches studied English literature at the University of Guelph, only to realize she much preferred the heart-racing stories she read between lectures. She has taught English in Japan and made chocolate in Vancouver, but it wasn't until she started a job in the health and wellness field in Toronto that she turned to her first passion, writing. She now lives in a foursome with her husband, son, and a cat in Guelph, Ontario, where she teaches her son English, feeds her husband chocolate, and tries to put all the love stories bundled up inside her onto paper. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
But we're glad to have you. So we're going to dive right into the questions.
Awesome.
And I would like you to tell us about your first book, The Queen's Training.
So The Queen's Training is about, it came to me as just the story of the woman at first. It wasn't really any huge story, just kind of her background. But it kind of started with her. She's from a poor region called Orono. And in Iran, there's 12 different regions, and each woman is taken kind of young, around 10 years old, to train as the next possible bride. So she gets picked as the next possible bride and trained. Doesn't go well at first. But then another man takes over who is somebody that she ends up having feelings for, and thus the romance begins. But then there's a lot of conflict because she can't fall in love with that man. She has to marry the king. Yeah.
And that's Soriana?
That's Soriana, yes. Yeah.
Did I just mute myself?
With a man with the scars.
What about Soriana's character did you relate to and drove you to write this book?
Soriana and I are very different, I'd say, in terms of appearance and obviously upbringing. But I think the thing that struck me first was just, I bonded with her over our little anxieties and insecurities, and that kind of lets a lot of character development in there for her, and myself as well. And so I kind of channeled my insecurities and anxieties through her in a way that she could be, I could see her as a stronger character as she moved on through the 3 books. Yeah, I think it was mostly that, and then also just her finding her strength was kind of appealing to me as well.
So this was kind of alluded to in your bio, but growing up, did you always know you wanted to write, or did you realize later in life?
I think I always knew. It was one of those, as far back as I can remember, it was one of those things that everybody's like, doctor, teacher, firefighter. I just really wanted to write. I have a terrible memory of my parents really trying to support me, which was wonderful. They got me one of those old DOS computers that like orange and black screens. I wrote all my stories on little floppy disks, so I'm super old, obviously. But my sister would make fun of me, and she brought a friend over, and they held me back, and I only wrote romance. So they held me down while she read out my romance stories, and I was just traumatized. I'm surprised I ever continued, but it took a while to recover.
So did you have one of those dot matrix printers that makes that awful sound when it's printing back and forth?
And then like you peel off the little hole things on the side. Super satisfying.
I don't miss those. I like my laser jets.
Yeah, way faster, turns out.
Right?
Life.
Okay, so I'm going to pass you over to Amy.
Okay.
Okay, so we asked you about writing, but what first interested you in trying to publish your work?
I had a writer friend / client who she's fairly well known in her genre, and she told me like she knew I wanted to write, and she was telling me like, honestly, don't ever publish. It sounds like a good idea, but it's torture. And I obviously didn't believe her. Obviously wanted to be published. And I think I mean, what writer doesn't actually have fantasies of being rich and famous, the next J.K. Rowling? And I'm assuming I'm a little bit more realistic, but if it happens, sure. And I just like the fact that I could be validated that way, I guess. I think I have a hard time with that in my writing, considering myself a writer. I think as a self-published author, I think a lot of self-published authors are amazing, and they have so much courage and confidence in knowing that they don't need that validation. I needed a little bit more. So yeah, I think just getting published. It was also another challenge, something to do. And I kind of liked all aspects of the writing. I liked the writing, I loved the editing, and I thought, well, maybe I like this other part. It's kind of a chore, but also kind of exciting. This little thrill whenever you send out a submission, like, ooh, maybe it's this one. So kind of, yeah, the challenge of the validation, I'd say.
I have to agree with your friend.
Yeah.
Publishing
it's
torture.
It turns out.
It is. Turns out it is.
Yeah.
So what inspires you to write? What do you do when you're not feeling so inspired to get your juices flowing again?
Yeah, it's always, up till about recently, it's been fairly easy, and I like stories and I want this, and it's almost like there's too much and there's no time. And then recently, life just gets busy with kid, with jobs, with life, everything like that. So it's the first time in a while that I've been like, ooh, I need to like dedicate this time. And it's like such a struggle. I'm writing this new book, and I'm on the 8th chapter now, and it's up until the 7th chapter. I was like, I don't even know if I can read my own work in this. It was just such a struggle. So it started to get easier, but I think just the ideas and the excitement of what the story is going to turn into, and then also just that having that thing to focus on, other than like the dishes and cleaning and dropping the kid off at daycare and all those things. It's nice to have that, like, this is for me. I like this.
Do you like to listen to music, watch movies, read your favorite books? Like, do those things refuel your kind of creative well sometimes when you're feeling kind of burned out?
I'd say definitely reading, and usually things that if it's something that I love, it's always this thought of like, oh, I wish I had written that. Why didn't I write it first? So definitely reading some good books helps. And sometimes movies. I watch lots of movies, but always like I think depending on the movie, I get inspired by them, less so than books for sure. And then also just checking out dudes, grocery store, walking on the sidewalk, appreciating people and like seeing little romances and what they could be. I love just observing people and just kind of developing a story for them. So that's always kind of like, yeah, there's another story. Here's more to write about. That's
cool. I think a lot of writers are people watchers, and that kind of makes us, students of the human condition. We're like, oh, take what we see and put it to paper. But where do you see your writing career in 5 years?
I would say similar to now, probably still, at the job that I'm working at, which I really love. Raising the kid up, and then I hope that in 5 years the writing career becomes more of an actual part-time job, because I'm just starting in and have like a little fledgling career at this point, and who knows what it's going to turn into. So the possibility is really exciting. I'd love to be able to justify that time to myself in terms of, okay, it makes a little bit of money, enough to go on a trip, or coffee money, or whatever. Just have it as another scale back in work and then scale up in writing, but still have that balance.
I agree. I think every author, whether they admit it or not, kind of wishes they could live off their writing and their creativity. Sure. And it's not always feasible, but it would be nice to have that balance to where maybe you don't have to worry so much about the day job.
Right.
And, the writing kind of pays for itself, because as we know, at first when you're starting out, you're shelling out a lot of money and you're not getting a whole lot of return on your investment, because it takes the time to build your clientele and your readership and all those things. So yeah, I think that's a really good goal to push for.
And I love sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, of being a full-time writer. I don't know if it would, like, if I had the choice, I'd choose it. But I don't know if it's what would actually make me happy. I think I like having a few different things kind of on the go. But yeah, if it becomes a full-time job, not turning it down.
I always tell my friends it'd be a terrible full-time writer, because I just don't have any willpower. It's like, I won't do anything today, because I don't have to get up and get out of bed and physically go to work. I probably would spend more time on Netflix and Facebook than I would actually writing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't have enough willpower to probably work from home or be a full-time writer.
Yeah.
I'd
When I
be
have to squeeze it in, it's probably my
right.
most efficient. But if I had all day, it's like, well, I've got all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see some dust over here and I need to wash these dishes first and start a little laundry.
Yeah.
And I'll get to it, and then later on it's like, oh, I ran out of time.
Yeah. Every day.
Okay. So I think we're going to pass over now to Paulina so she can ask her questions, and then we'll just kind of filter in Isabel's questions as we go.
Sounds good.
Well, the first question I'm going to ask is Ish question, I believe. What's your favorite type of character to write and why?
Ooh, that's a good one. I really like I love the main characters. I really like the friends kind of. I struggled with that a lot with the Queen's Training, and I actually had the editor for this publisher, Red Empress Press. She wrote in her notes, she's such a lovely woman and so helpful with her edits. And then one note, this character is a lamp. There's no purpose to her. I was like, well, that's hurtful and actually a really good comment. So ever since then, I've been really interested in kind of building up the different subplots of the character, the other, not the main character, I'm blanking on the word for them.
The secondary characters?
Thank you. The secondary characters. And just kind of filling them in, and just, I love how they kind of flesh out the plot a lot more. And also because it's a trilogy and I kind of see books beyond the trilogy, kind of spin-offs, it's really interesting thinking like, ooh, this character, she's not huge in the book, or he's not huge in the book, but maybe they've got a place. They've got another story in there for them. So it's always kind of fun writing those other ones where I don't have to have so much pressure on them, but also there's so much room to grow with them. I really like those.
Going back to what your editor said, a lamppost, my editor told me, are we walking around in a bubble? Because I didn't have enough scenery. So she was just like, I just felt like two people in a bubble walking around. And I was like, oh. Mm-hmm. So it's always good to have those editors that,
tell the truth.
Yeah. Like with my sex scene, she goes, well, are you going to kill your character? No. Okay, let me go back. So it's always good. And I think that's what makes or breaks books.
Yeah.
A good editor.
For sure. Like hearing these things, it's like, oh, my part, but fair. And you're right. So thank you.
My first editor was horrible, and I published with her, and trust me, it was the reviews that came in, I almost cried and quit writing.
Oh no.
So I've been there. So when my editor comes back with stuff, I'm like, you know what? I love you. Beat me up, at least it'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, like, be unnecessarily mean, but yeah, it's good. And this one, I love the editor that I had for the first, for the second publisher before they went under, before I was able to get released, but she was wonderful. That's okay, love. You can go to the bathroom. No, that's okay, love. Sorry.
Okay. We have kids.
Yeah, it wouldn't be one of our podcasts if a child didn't make an appearance.
It wasn't complaining about a diaper. I forget what I was saying. Oh yeah, I love that. She was wonderful. And then this editor for Red Empress, she didn't bleed as much over the pages, but everything she said was like concise and like, yes, good point.
Good things, or you just feel like they're beating you up.
Yeah, exactly. And like every once in a while, feed my ego just like a teeny bit, and then beat me up a little bit more. That's fine.
When not writing, what are your hobbies? I do video games.
Sorry?
I said, because I do video games, so I'm just wondering, what's yours?
Reading, obviously. But I make chocolate. I used to work at a little chocolate shop in Vancouver. Realized that's not what I wanted to do for a career, but I love making chocolate, and I guess making chocolate is misleading. I don't make the chocolate, but I make truffles and caramels and toffees and that kind of stuff, and little chocolate houses and sculptures.
We're all moving to her city, guys. We're all moving.
That's my husband's dream job. Yeah. He wanted to move to Belgium and be a chocolatier. Literally.
Right, yeah, chocolatier. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. And it's fun. Like I loved learning about it when I was in Vancouver, but I realized it was not the career for me. But it's super fun giving it away to friends, and they seem to enjoy it. And then I get tons of leftovers, so like win-win.
that's what I was gonna say. Do you sell them or you give them away to friends?
Yeah, I don't sell them. I think at some point it might be like in the future. Um, but yeah, just give them away. It originally kind of started when I was a poor student and I had no other money. So I was like, well, everyone's getting, some personal made, like homemade chocolate. And then everyone knew that's just what they got for Christmas. But then it kind of turned into like I had a job and I made a little bit more money. So like, well, now I can't be a cheapo and just
How is
only give
that
chocolate. So I
cheap?
have to give both. I have to make the chocolate. I have to give gifts. But it is really fun.
I'm gonna say that how is that cheap? I think that means more when you get something someone made. Like I have a friend who has everything in the world, like means like
Yeah.
and I made her literally a little blanket, like a tie. What are those called? The tie blankets. She still has it, and it's been 15 years, and she's like, "This is my favorite possession." So
Yeah,
maybe people actually look forward to your chocolates because they know that that's actually made with,
I hope so.
you worked over that. You didn't just go to the store and buy something.
Yeah, yeah. I can't turn the one on. I'll turn it on after that. Okay. Can you go back and watch a movie? Maybe. You can
I
do
had
that.
I knew an author that she reached out to a local chocolatier and said, "Hey, I'm writing this book. Would you make a special line of chocolates? I'll write you in my book, and then you make a special line of chocolates that people can buy online." And that was actually a very successful promotion for her.
Ooh, that is a great idea.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
So send me chocolate.
Okay.
So you can work it into your book
Now, it would
somehow.
melt. There's no chocolate happening right now, but hit me back in September, October. It's coming your way.
Like somewhere. Are you a plotter or a pantster? Pantster? Yeah, we'll just call it pantster.
Definitely a plotter. I found that when I used to write before, I'd have all these story ideas and I'd write. I kept writing, but I'd get 2 to 3 chapters in and be like, I have no idea where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I found once I started outlining and getting pretty detailed with it, like leaving enough room for some spontaneous fun stuff, but yeah, I need the outline. Otherwise, I just like hands up, walk away. I don't know what I'm doing.
Do you do I know that there's different people who actually plan. So is yours more like we learned in school? Like where you go point A, then this is what's going to be in there, or do you do like chapters?
I do chapters. I think I don't. I heard of one writer who doesn't outline, but she just writes whatever she wants whenever and just kind of fits it together. And it's a beautiful story, but like, how? I have no idea. So I'm definitely.
I do that.
Yeah, that fascinates me. It's just how does that ever get together?
Honestly, I can tell you it's because I write at work and I write at home, and so I write whatever comes in my head at the moment of the story. So when I start splicing it together, that's how it runs. So it's just what comes to mind at the moment.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, I wish I was more like that. I wish I was more spontaneous with it, but definitely need to have like I'm not a super organized person in general. I'm not, pretty disorganized, but in writing, I need to have that. Otherwise, like, I don't know where I'm going. So I'm constantly like back to the outline. Like, where is it supposed to go? Or I kind of veer off and think like, no, I had a plan and get back.
If it works for you, stick to it. Because that means you put books out.
Yeah.
What is you said it, one of your hobbies obviously is reading, because all authors love reading. What's your favorite genre to read? Do you read what you write, or?
I'd say kind of any romance. I really like certain nonfictions as well, but like if I'm going for what I actually really like, for sure romance. Like fantasy romance, obviously. Although, as I was saying before, there really isn't as much out there as there should be, quite frankly. So thanks to everyone for like feeding that genre. But
what's a trope you like?
Sorry?
What's a trope that you like?
Oh, that would be like, I would say just I love a strong female, but also that has room for that character development. So that plus, I have to say I love an alpha male, like not too alpha, but like gotta be a little alpha. And just that I feel like I don't want to admit it, but I think I fall into the whole like saviors thing quite easily. which I wish I didn't. I feel like that's very sexist, but so it goes, I guess. But I kind of like the inverse of that, where the women end up like it's I think more common these days about like the women kind of saving the men, which is kind of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
I
also
like
just
those ones.
yeah, yeah. As long as the man is like they both have to be fairly strong characters and work together well. Um, yeah, but I think I like that saving story as long as it's not like a super like too sexist or too uh contrived, I guess, too typical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if money was not an issue, where would you go for a writing retreat? Anywhere in the world.
Whew, good one. Oh, that's so hard. I want to say hmm, Bali. Bali would be nice. I had a friend that went there recently, and just like every single picture, I just like drool. Like, oh, please, I want that life.
But you know, this is a writing retreat, which means you're going to be writing.
Right. But then I could, in hammocks and like tree houses, just get my
Oh.
laptop. Yeah, no, I'm into it. Yeah, I think that would work.
I'm like, Italy. Would I get any
Yeah,
work done? Probably not, but
yeah,
I'll still
yeah.
go.
That's the problem. Maybe it should be somewhere that I don't ever want to travel to, like, or just the terrible weather. Like maybe like Scotland in the winter, and I love the idea of Scotland, but in the winter, probably not. Like I would be in a cabin, holed up for good. Like, no.
Really?
What?
Elle and I both said Ireland or Scotland.
We'll
Yeah,
be in a
yeah.
pub.
It's beautiful, but
Drinking
like,
Guinness, riding by the fire,
oh,
warm sweaters, and
yeah,
lovely Scottish men.
yes, yep.
That
Oh,
could give you
like
some
all of
ideas.
that.
I will be in a pub with Irishmen trying to look under their kilts as I drink. Sorry, that's what I would be doing, so I would still get no writing done.
Yeah, I think it would have to be like a cabin in the woods where every night I'm scared that some axe man's gonna come and murder me. But
I'm
during the
like
day,
every
beautiful.
horror movie.
Yeah, I know.
Starts with, let's go on a retreat in the woods, in a cabin. Heck no.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'd be writing a different kind of novel at that point.
Like that just reminds me. I told one of my exes he wanted to stop on the side of the road in the dark to go to the bathroom. I was like, okay, let me explain this once to you. I'm black. You pull over, there'll be a serial killer 20 miles away talking about, oh, we gotta go. And I'll be in that movie where you, huh?
It's just the beginning of a terrible movie.
But yeah, but I'm, horror movies. I'll be the first to die. He would live. And I'm like, literally, I would be that girl who trips and you'll be like, oh, and I'd be like, what the, why am I dying? And he's like, I gotta go pee. I'm like, well, you better wait to the gas station.
Yeah. You have a cup in there? Something?
I was like, how do you not think of this? Every horror movie starts this way.
Yeah. We all know how this is going down. It's not good.
I'm just gonna stop in this cabin for a second out in the middle of the woods. Why? I'm gonna travel down this road that I've never traveled. Why?
I'm sure there's a friendly stranger somewhere.
Yeah. So if I go to a retreat, not a woods, not a cabin in the woods.
Yeah, fair. You're making me second guess this now. Okay.
Just go to Bali. Bali, right? Yes.
Yeah, first choice. Circling back, Bali all the way.
All right. Elle, you have something?
No, I just want to know about the second book in the series. Do you have any information about that?
So it came out, I want to say 2 days ago. Kind of losing track of days. 3 days ago, a couple days ago. I know it's like books are like babies, and I know you're not supposed to have like a favorite baby, but the second is totally my favorite baby. It has a lot more kind of that torture of like the tragedy of loving each other but not being able to be together, and having to be near each other all the time, but keeping it locked down, and then also a lot more story development on there's a lot of romance, but a lot of not backstory, but just like more of her world, and then traveling a little bit more throughout her country, and her kind of coming into her own a lot more, a little bit more of a stronger character, which is leading into the third book where she becomes much stronger and much more character on her own. But yeah, I like the character development in the second one, and just that that love triangle. Big fan of that. So yeah, that's where it's going.
What is
the Queen's Lover?
okay?
Does she come to care for? I'm sorry, I'm going to ask for a spoiler.
Oh yeah.
Does she come to care for the king / emperor / leader of the country that she's supposed to marry? Is he actually not a bad person? Because that usually gives a little spice to, you know.
Yeah, he's a great guy. There's some spice there too. And personally, I think if I were like if he was a real human versus the other guy, like I'd say Raneth, the main character, the main guy, he's a very great like book boyfriend. But I'd say if in real life, the other guy is somebody that I'd be more drawn to. Like he's a little bit more of an open-hearted person, not as dark.
We just had this conversation in a thread on Facebook, and my point was that, you know, they asked like, what would you like to see more in romance novels? And my wish was for more of the beta hero.
Yeah.
So you're talking about everybody wants Star-Lord, but nobody wants Chris Pratt's character in Parks and Rec. But I want Chris Pratt's character in Parks and Rec. You know, I want the like heavy set, jolly guy who's like so super sweet. He'd fight somebody who insulted you, but he's like super. Also, he's like just a complete big giant teddy bear.
Yeah.
So you know, it's like I like characters like that who fart and steal the covers, and they can be jerks, but at the same time they're just like really really good guys. And nobody writes a lot of romance authors won't write their male characters with flaws. They tend to write their female characters with flaws that they feel they have, you know. And so then I was like, well, I want my male character to be that guy that you're like embarrassed to be seen with in public because he's such a goofball, but at the same time you couldn't imagine your life without him. Like,
right.
You know, that balance that you get. Like real life love is not, you don't fall in love with the most handsome man, you fall in love with the best man. So you know, it's hard to get that.
He's very flawed for sure. But in kind of like a sweet way. He's a really great guy, but just definitely doesn't work with Soriana. First of all, she loves somebody else, so that doesn't help.
Right.
And yeah, I don't think maybe if Raneth wasn't in the picture, they would work, but I feel like he needs somebody else, and it's tragic to me that he gets her, who I love her as well, but just like, no, he's so sweet. Just like, I love him as well. I love both of those men for totally different reasons. So yeah, I think she struggles with that as well, which is kind of nice. A nice little love triangle struggle I enjoy. Kind of toying with the characters a little bit, torturing them.
Anything else, guys?
Noelle, why don't you tell us where people can find you on the internet?
So you can find me at Noelle Riches on Facebook. Noelle on Twitter, it's Noelle_Riches, I believe. I have a Pinterest page, which I'm not super great at keeping up with. It's Noelle Riches as well, and it does have a page full of Queen's training kind of images and inspiration and things to look at if you're looking for like, what does that look? Basically, if I didn't describe things well enough and you're looking for like, I don't get it, find Pinterest page. And I'm trying to think of anything else. Twitter,
your website?
Website, yes. NoelleRiches@gmail, or not Gmail. That's my email. NoelleRiches@gmail.com, and just NoelleRiches.com. I had that came up recently. I'm pretty excited about it, and working on my first newsletter.
Ooh. So we have a first on the podcast, and Noelle has agreed to do a ebook giveaway. And so we needed to set some parameters because I know you probably listen or watch in several different locations. So you need to leave us a comment on the blog, which I will put a link in the show notes. But if you don't get the show notes, it's focusonfantasyromance.wordpress.com. Ask Noelle a question, and you'll be entered to win an ebook copy of The Queen's Training. We will keep that open and for 1 month, so until July 23rd. So ask Noelle anything, and I'll ask her to come by the blog and reply. So be sure to enter into that. So I lost. You guys are talking too much. Nope. Thank you. Okay, there we go. Thank you for joining us. If you like the podcast, please like, comment, and share. This is episode number 33, so look for episode number 33 if you want to leave a comment for Noelle and enter into the contest. Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you.